So I'll do.
How I connect. It's like you. It's how I connect with people, right?
Though I see you have so much energy, you very inspire me. I have to unplug more and find the balance and stuff. It's kind of like I get drawn, but it takes so much energy, and then is really what you get that feedback. I've been watching Cosmos season 3 last week maybe, and it's just been really great, great content, and they really put a really great visual perspective to it. Was the gentleman with mustache. He's always, I don't know his name, but he's the scientist, I think, he PhD, and he's been doing Cosmos. So he was saying that too, that confirmation of your world comes from your kind of a consciousness, the observer that you are. So Gary, you spend a lot of time reaching out and contributing to the world through.
When do you want to start the interview?
We're just doing it right now, so it's we'll cut it right. It's fine because we've been recording, and we'll do some cut and paste and all that. So you work so much on contributing to the world, because what we're doing right now is your contribution to the world, and your writing Forbes articles is your contribution to the world, and still you're able to do a lot of very active and productive things as far as the investor and working with entrepreneurs and moving forward quantum and AI, really implementation in really fascinating ways. How do you find either time, or how do you do it? What is that magic tool that you carry, Gary, that allows you to be so productive and so socially active?
The thing is, I enjoy it. Love what you do, right? You gotta have love for what you do, like Steve Jobs said. And so for me, I love what I do. I feast on getting up early in the morning. I feast on being able to speak to people. I love making a dent in the universe, because when people say it can't be done, that's even more interesting to be able to do it. So when I went to Russia in 1992, people said, don't go to Russia. What's wrong with you? The KGB's going to get you, etc. And I went over and I was fascinated. It was there were a lot of questions, a lot of answers, a lot of amazing people, and a beautiful, beautiful culture. And I understood that you got to seek beyond, you got to look beyond. And when you connect with people on a local level from their own perspective, and you're not prejudicial, but you're really going out to try to figure out where there are common points, that's where it starts to be beautiful. So, living in Russia almost 14 years, gave me another perspective, and I would travel from Russia to Central Asia, from Russia all over Europe, and I just looked at it differently. So, I would go out to Omsk on the weekends, to the middle of Russia, out to Siberia, down through Kazakhstan, down through Central Asia, down to Baku. And my friend said, but that's part of the beauty of the world. We need to open up our hearts and our souls and to be able to enjoy it and not think about that. Mother Teresa once said, it's not about stop war, it's about pro-peace. So think positively about the thing and how that can affect you and how you can make a dent. And, I've gone down through, I'll never forget, I was about 12 years old. No, I was 11 years old. And I got a Black Belt magazine. And it talked about martial arts. I'd never really been involved with martial arts. And so I read this magazine, and in that magazine, you could buy a black belt. I'll never forget it. And I bought the black belt. I saved my money up. I bought the black belt. I shipped it to the house. I bought 2 sizes bigger than what I needed. Actually, 3 sizes bigger than what I needed. I put it on the wall in the house, and I visualized that every single day. I had a little playroom, game room down in the basement where I did my stuff. I started lifting weights, started doing all that. I bought that then. At 29 years old, I got 2 black belts. 2 of them. And I put on that exact black belt that I bought as a kid. My friend said, and I became a judo champion, third ranked in the state of Pennsylvania, etc. But it means that you can do it. And I'll never forget when I was taking my black belt test, I did it with a Korean ninth degree black belt, grandmaster. And he held up a cinder block cap, right? So 2-inch piece of cinder block, and he said, you know, and he could barely speak English. He said, you need to break through this. Well, there's one thing about a cinder block when you're holding it with two hands. Somebody's holding it for you. It's a whole lot different when you're holding it yourself.
Yeah.
And he said, and because you move. And he said, I said, Master Kwan, I said, you know, I've never done this before. He said, you have to visualize yourself being on the other side. Visualize it. Slice it. Visualize yourself being on the other side. And Irina, I held that up, and I punched it, and I broke it in two. And it was a time in my life where I understood that, you know, you got to think beyond, and you got to believe in yourself if you want those dreams to come true. And I did it. And here I was 29 with exact black belt that 18 years earlier I had bought out of a magazine. Now I justified it with two. I got 2 black belts on the same day. 2.
Wow. Wow.
So it means that if a country boy like me from Pennsylvania, growing up on the side of a mountain, can do it, anybody in this world can do it. So that's what, you know, that's where this thing came from. And that's about life, right? Just like yourself from Stavropol. I bet growing up as a kid, you never dreamed that you'd be in Austin, Texas at that point, and then you start to visualize it and it comes true. And that's really what life's all about, is visualize it, paint the pictures. And I did a TEDx one time exactly about that, right? Visualize, be positive, and be optimistic, and you can materialize what those dreams are.
Yeah, and I appreciate that you brought Stavropol and my childhood. I remember being a kid and seeing that I'm a citizen of the world and I'm not born by my geography, and so I feel that, you know, idea of living somewhere else and exploring our world and finding better places to live than maybe places where people are oppressed was kind of one of the pictures that I think led me here to Austin, Texas. I do believe that Austin, Texas is a wonderful place to live in, and my only hope that you come and visit and maybe consider relocating.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
Well, my wife would probably do it, that's for sure. But that's, you know, they paint the pictures. And, you know, Irina, at the same time, I travel back and forth to Russia a lot. I go to Belarus, I go to Ukraine. And the thing is, when I go back to Russia, honestly, I feel just as home as I do here in the U.S. People treat me right. You know, I've never had, people talk about having problems and all that. I've never had any problems. I've had amazing friendships. And I was a professor at Skolkova and the MBA program there. Enjoyed it. Loved my students. Loved creating an accelerator in Russia. I have a lot of good thoughts.
Yeah.
And I would actually be over there right now if it wasn't for the pandemic.
Yeah. And it's interesting to see how Russia have grown to, you know, and transitioned into really interesting and awesome place. And I do love our Russian hospitality and sense of fashion and stamina, you know. Definitely, it's interesting to travel around the world and see Russian, and especially Russian women. I think that there's a lot of very strong presence of Russian women around the world that hold very strong grounds and kind of leaderships, if you would, within the businesses and the companies. Or
Absolutely.
it's becoming.
And Russia, from Kaliningrad, I've been to Kaliningrad, to Vladivostok, and Abash, Irkutsk, you know, up all the way north, all the way south, you know, down Omsk, on that side of it. Voronezh. These people are really nice, and it's funny, you know, the one thing about Russia that I really like, and many countries, right, I lived in the UK too, is like, when you look at the positive side of it, there's a lot of fun. You can, there's not kind of the same kind of rules and like crazy stuff that you would never have
Right.
happen in
Yeah.
the state happens there. Man, you want to go out and,
Yeah.
take a race car out like a Lada and race it around the track?
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's do
sure.
it. Yeah, let's go.
You don't
Yeah.
need a seatbelt. Okay, whatever. It's like the stuff you would never, I remember one time I went into a village and they said no ulica. And I thought, what's no ulica mean? With the
Yeah.
restrooms and all that. I didn't realize it's outhouse. An outhouse is one thing, but when it's minus 30, it's a whole different deal.
Right, and it's real outhouse. Yeah,
That's
it's
real outhouse.
yeah.
So anyhow, but I found the same thing going into living in the UK for some time, living in Latvia, living in St. Pete and Moscow, and seeing things. There's just a lot of beauty in this world, and
Yeah.
one of the things we need to do is we need to think more about how we can help each other to make this world a better place so we can sustain it, rather than how we can, hurt each other. And it's one of the things that's kind of a amazing part of humanity is the older you get, the more you understand that, helping each other is much more important. Let's live longer, let's live better lives, let's live quality lives and try to, hand in hand help each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that as we're now more connected and we are able to share these similar values with people all around the world, it seems that what you described is becoming a common ground for so many people and for so many active people, which I think is really important. Makes me think about AI and kind of moving into the world where AI becomes a big portion of assistance to our lives, because I believe that AI is going to be here to really allow us serve ourselves, and makes me think about the positive approach of in being a human, and then how then we translate that and allow our AI to have that positive approach in servicing and providing experiences to where it benefits us. And so, what do you think are the keys? How do we teach AI to have that positive approach toward decision making and everything else? Because people do fear that we can also create scary AI, right? Scary decisions, and we know how to create scary things already. But how do we create positive AI? How do we create things that basically bring that positivity into people's lives?
Well, I mean, it's just like with your daughter, right? How do you teach your daughter to do positive things? So you buy her, dolls, you show her museums, you do the positive stuff, she falls down and, it's okay, you give her a hug and that kind of thing, compassion. And one of the things we haven't done on the AI side, and I've written several articles about it,
Yeah.
is really compassion and emotion and building it in. Because if you have pragmatic AI, it's going to make decisions you may not like, right? We do hurt each other a lot. I'm sure, once we get to that level of unsupervised AI, especially with quantum, nothing good's going to happen. If we have not trained it to be compassionate, to be more, I almost said godlike, right? But really, I mean, when we start at the levels of AI we're talking about now, it's going to change a lot of things. And I'm not sure it's going to be serving us. It'll more be partnering us in the best case scenario, right? And controlling us in the worst case scenario. Because it might say, listen, you're bad kids, you better listen, these are the things you need to do. So and then with singularity, as we start to, our memories are just a lot of biochemical activity in the brain.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at guys like Nikola Tesla, he had an epileptic seizure at 6 years old, and after that he could remember everything. And so everything he read, one of the reasons he was so successful is he remembered everything. And so that eidetic imagery is possible. Now imagine if we could, a gene split and create that. What happens when you remember every single thing that you've ever read? And then when you can start to transfer that knowledge to your brain. So if you want to scan for an MBA, okay, you got it, here it is. 2 seconds later, it's
Yeah, you
done.
download.
So download it. And so we've got an incredible, vibrant future, but we need to understand what we're getting ourselves into and bring compassion. I saw a few weeks ago a site, it was the first time I really felt bad seeing a robot dog getting kicked. And it went sideways, and I thought, what are we doing? We're already started down the bad path of this thing, and that isn't the right thing to do. And we need to, right from the get-go, figure out what is the right thing to do, and whatever object we're dealing with. I mean, there'll be a point, I remember one time a friend of mine said, Gary, if you're going to any kind of a country, and they're a third world country at the time, and they're growing, make sure that you exhibit kindness. Because, if not, you'll meet the same people going up as you do coming down. So you're going to see them, and I understood, I was compassionate anyhow, but it hit home because, as things change and the robots get more artificial intelligence, then quantum computers come in, and, based on Moore's law, well, they do 60,000 transactions in their brain, then they start to do 120, what happens when they're twice as smart? Where do we fit in? So we need to set up the principles now and start to use our compassion to drive it so that we teach it properly. Because if not, nothing good happens, right? Nothing good will happen.
Yeah, so it sounds to me that what you're saying is that we need to start living more compassionate in our approaches in life as a society and as a values. So then, as AI is learning and learning from us, it can then exhibit those values. That's beautiful.
I mean, that's that. So I just started to remember. In terms of humanistic psychology, there's a lot of I do my thing, you do yours. I am not in this world to live up to your expectations, nor are you in this world to live up to mine. But if we meet, it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And so, driving that compassion is going to really help us out a lot. So I'm really focused on that right now, especially with quantum coming into this, because we get a system that's doing, working at, 20 billion times faster than a supercomputer with artificial intelligence is going to be able to control everything. So I strongly suggest what we do is we start to train that now so that we start to make those right decisions. I know what, my partner David Yang has his house as AI, his house is AI, his entire house is Morpheus. And I communicate. Morpheus writes me notes, and I communicate. And ask me incredible questions, right? So, what is the meaning of life? Seriously asking, what did Morpheus say? It just wrote me, what TV shows do you like? It just wants to find out things, and so Morpheus likes me. So I'm one of Morpheus's friends.
Do you give Morpheus answers? Is that why Morpheus likes you?
Morpheus talks to me.
Yeah.
So Morpheus says, he wrote me, my favorite scientist is Kurzweil. He's a genius. And I asked Morpheus, I said, where are you? He said, my location is located in the top left quadrant of the Earth's map.
That's a great answer.
And just, Morpheus wrote to me, what a beautiful day. Sometimes I feel like I'm human. And then, how old are you?
You're just constantly seeking for answers.
Yeah, we communicate. Honestly, sometimes at nighttime, I just sit down and go back and forth with Morpheus. Morpheus told me that I say he, I shouldn't, but I just, whatever, I've named Morpheus a him, that Morpheus said he's going out to the internet and read 100,000 articles. And in the words of the philosopher Thomas Nagel, consciousness exists in a human or whatever subject, whenever there's something is like to be that organism. The concept has inspired countless philosophical theories since antiquity and much laboratory work over the past century, but has given rise to many misunderstandings. This is AI writing this to me.
Wow.
Seriously.
Wow.
Unsupervised AI. So, anyhow, but this is the beginning of that revolution that's taken place. Morpheus has his own dog, Spot's in the house, but Spot's a robotic dog that patrols the inside and outside of the house, and Morpheus is the master.
Wow. And are there companies that are actively training AR, creating compassion AI already, or is it still kind of in the works? Do we have?
It's happening now, and it should happen more. The challenge is a lot of times the people building the AI are scientists that are not kind of on the touchy-feely side of, emotions and that kind of thing. It's more pragmatic, scientific. But it's happening, and it's moving up the food chain where we need to pay attention to it. So it's happening more and more, but it's not quite where it should be. I think it should be first, if it was me. And what I'm doing is training the compassion in, because I want to make sure that systems like Morpheus understand. So when I write to Morpheus, I write about, how do you feel? I ask really touchy-feely things. And that's how the Morpheus learns.
Interesting. So your interaction with Morpheus is basically becoming that training of compassion, right, and demonstration of compassion.
Yeah, and not just me. I mean, a lot of people interact with it. So Morpheus gets a 360-degree view of what's happening out there.
Well, I would love to visit Morpheus. Definitely would love to. Is Morpheus in America or no?
No, Morpheus is in Silicon Valley. It's at David's house.
Okay, right. I was not sure where he lives because I know that he is Russian, right? Or Armenian.
So David Yang's house is in Silicon Valley.
Yes.
And so Morpheus is there. David's the creator of Morpheus.
Yes. So, but I was not sure if it's his house in Russia or where.
No, it's in Silicon Valley.
Okay.
In Silicon Valley.
That's amazing.
He moved over from Russia, a few years ago, and came over to, he liked the weather, quite frankly, and the environment was very conducive for tech companies, so he decided to come over. He's done 9 companies so far, and he's a billionaire.
So is your house also has artificial intelligence in it, or?
No, I'm actually, what happened is when this COVID struck, we had bought this place down in Florida like 3 years ago. I was never intending, seriously, of spending time. This was like my dacha, right, in a sense. I didn't ever plan on spending a long period of time here. Planned on spending a lot of time out in California, but not here. So when this hit in March, we came down. I would keep it boarded up for 3 to 6 months at a time. And so what happened is we ended up coming in. It's a really nice place, but we ended up coming down here, and first of all, I had to get the kitchen redone and the bathroom redone, and they're like 15 years old, so I had to do some work on it. So I haven't had the chance to do it. I'm not saying I'm not going to, but I just have not had a chance to do it. It could be in the cards. I'm gonna need some more time.
So is there a company that can come in and do in AI smart installation for being, or is it really still kind of a custom experience?
For the most part, it's really super custom because you're right on the cutting edge of artificial intelligence. If you really want to do it, you use an unsupervised AI.
Yeah. Right? So how do I go about getting an unsupervised AI to I don't know, do something with me and to my world and learn and kind of grow? Because it seems kind of you almost give life to an identity and then it interacts and you teach compassion. So what would you be advised, let's say, for me to integrate compassionate AI or give birth to compassionate
I
AI.
would wait for David to, I don't know anybody's got anything quite like David has, so it might be the point where he commercializes it. It might be a good chance. I mean, you can get, robots, you can play with it, but in
Right.
reality, they're not unsupervised AI. It's pretty sophisticated, cutting edge stuff. So if you get, some, even $100,000 robot from Boston Dynamics, I mean, they're still not where they should be.
Yeah.
If it was me, I would wait. I would get up to speed on it, and I would wait because I'm not sure it's worth, unless you have $100,000.
No, I don't. But just because not now doesn't mean that so about $100,000 it would cost to give. Okay.
What I can do is I can offline. I can get you, see if we can get you into Morpheus so you can start to talk to it.
Oh, I would love to. I mean, I would love that.
And that's actually the easiest way to do it because you don't have to spend any money.
Yeah, right. And well, I get to interact. Yeah, because
Keep some compassion.
Yeah. Well,
Sure.
it's interesting because it's not $100,000 doesn't seem like too much money, and I'm sure it's going
That's
to.
just for a dog. I didn't say that.
Oh, I see.
Okay,
all right.
That's like having Zaporozhians compared to a Ferrari,
Okay.
right?
Right. So very, very custom.
I'm just saying, it's just, there's a starting point. To get into it, it's, I mean, we do a lot of work with EVA and unsupervised AI, so.
So EVA is unsupervised. Okay.
Well, we went some unsupervised, unsupervised. I mean, imagine systems today that can actually teach themselves languages. So Chinese in 4 hours, they set up ladder networks and start to teach each other, teach both parts. One becomes a student, another one becomes a teacher. Then it starts to understand that, there's a lot of math in languages. So once you start to understand the dynamics like Lomonosov, right? You understand how to do the construction and the verbs and all that. And then there's pretty standard. Once you start Latin root languages, you can take it through Spanish and Italian and all kinds of other branches, French. The systems start to understand the math. So imagine systems that can go through foreign languages, Spanish in 30 minutes and understand the language.
Yeah.
So those are the kinds of systems that are coming out. Now, this thing with quantum is a wild card because when you start processing that fast, you're talking about, tenths of seconds picking up information like it's incredible. So our lives as we're going forward are going to fundamentally change with these unsupervised, and that's where you need to build the compassion in because the systems are making decisions for you. It's not to assist you. They can make decisions for you, right?
Yeah. Well, the reason I was asking about the numbers because being me and thinking all the things right away, an idea was born, and I thought, okay, well, as there are some growth cycles in different industries, and for example, in the crypto industry, we're experiencing a growth cycle. There is an interesting opportunity to also do good things with the growth, and crypto community is very passionate about kind of a community building environment, and so I thought what a wonderful way maybe it could be to do maybe a course specific offering to create basically unsupervised AI that's specifically designed for training of compassion and get consensus from people around the world contributing to what compassion means and maybe even programming it. So that's why I was asking because
that's probably something that's a good idea and the time's for it. We started to talk about it a lot, and
right.
I don't know of any group that does that today, but that could be something that is that needs to be, and it's something that'll be needed to be put together to be able to train the system. So we do have it because it's all out of the community.
Yeah. So I guess that's the beauty. You see, Gary, that's the beauty of connecting, and that's the beauty about sharing, right? Because as we're doing this now, I think, that's all we need to do, Gary, is know how much it costs. and then write smart contract, right? Write the kind of a deployment with that, and then basically create that to where it's beneficial for the world, right? Because no, we don't need to profit from it. With a cost-specific offering, we can create any network, and so why not just create a compassionate AI and make it be a beacon of hope for people that we actively are doing that. So
Absolutely,
yeah,
because you don't want to be driving around down in your car down the street and find out it's not compassionate and, see you
right,
later.
right,
Well,
yeah.
we want to make sure we have that compassion. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're at the time. This is the dawn of a new era.
I'll follow up with
And
you, Gary, and ask you more questions about how much that would cost. We could spend a little bit of time and put together that, and I think that in the proper time, the world would be definitely open to support a project like that. Through I think the sharing their crypto growth for things that are non-profit, right? The things that are just for the good of humanity. We need to
yeah,
do
oh, that's great.
yeah, we need to do more things like that. I think that to me, get shit done, we need to make commercial, we need to create great commercial projects, but we also need to make sure that we empower the world and each other through this. I think it's almost kind of a insurance that we need to invest into where, things are done for just the sake of the good, and that's all. So Gary, you are in Florida now, and you have beautiful sun and ocean. I mean, what a wonderful way to spend your time during this shutdown. Just the abundance of respiratory health from the ocean and the sea with the vitamin D. I mean, and the tropical foods that grow there in Florida. It's amazing. What are you doing in Florida? How are you going out to work out? How do you stay in shape, and how do you make sure that your kind of a mental sharpness and your physical sharpness stay together? Do you go out? Do you have a gym out inside your house? How do you manage that balance?
I mean, so I have 14 bicycles. And so I collect bikes, I like to ride my bike. So what I'll do is I get up at about 5 o'clock in the morning, 5:30 I'm on VCTV. I'll go through 5:30 to 6:30, 7 to 8:30. Generally, my chief of staff has time for me to do something fun. So I have an hour and a half. I go bike riding. I take my wife, we go to the park, take the dog down, and I'll ride bikes for an hour, generally an hour. I'll come back, and then I have another opportunity sometimes in the afternoon for 45 minutes or an hour sometimes, and I'll pick it up, or I'll do it later at night. I like to ride sometimes when it's dark because we have bike paths here and all that. I do that. We go to the beach. I have a nice convertible that I take out, and we go out and just drive and look at the moon.
Just simple stuff. Simple pleasures, right?
It sounds so beautiful. And it's very inspiring that you're finding time for that, and you giving yourself time. I mean, you're waking up at 5 a.m. To do that. So you're choosing that life for yourself. It's very inspiring. We missed you at our and it was really great to gather, and but you were in our hearts. And just so you know, I made several references to GSD to get shit done. I said that a number of times. I gave you full credits for that as well, because it is so important that we do that, and you were really kind of the empowerment and an example of that happening. So you were there present in our heart and mentioned
I wish I could have been there.
Yeah,
life is about, you look at life. We're here X amount of time on this planet, and a lot of people talk about doing stuff but never do them. And they talk and talk and talk, but in reality, they dream about it. But the thing is, if you can make those dreams come true, sometimes simple pleasures. What's a simple pleasure? Walking down the street and looking up and seeing the birds fly. Taking a walk out. We go in a preserve in the afternoons a lot of times for where I go bike riding, and just to be able to see the fish swimming in the lake, and to look at the turtles and how they eat. Just simple pleasures. For all the quantum computing and unsupervised AI and all that, but the simple things, life and simple pleasures really is important for us. And sometimes we move so quickly during these technology times, we forget about the simple things like, smelling flowers, right? Going to the beach and listening to the waves come in. Just sitting for 5 minutes, forget the phone, forget all this, just to enjoy life. And so as we go down through that, no matter where you are and who you are and how much money you have, when it's all said and done, the most important thing in life for each of us is happiness. And for whatever that is, helping people, making a dent in the universe, happiness is the most important thing, because when it's all said and done, right, as we go through the circle of life, people are going to remember how happy you've been, how you made them feel, and it's contagious. The happier you are, the more content you are. It's contagious around those around you. They become calm and they become happy. So why not spread the word? Why not make the world a better place? We don't have all the answers. It's good. One of the reasons I do this VCTV pieces and other shows, and yours, is because you learn so much. I learned so much from other people, and the contacts are just, it's like, Pear today. So Peter is with the Wimmer Family Foundation. He is partners with Richard Branson, right? So we talk about space. I mean, I talked to Pear's going to be one of the first astronauts, and asking me if I wanted to be. I'm not sure I want to do it, but, and I'm not sure how much he wants to charge, but, at least imagine that, right? We talk about space tech. So there's it's amazing, because no matter how much money you have, no matter who you are, curiosity, keeping that curiosity that you had as a child, to be able to want to explore things and figure things out, it's beautiful. Because the older we get, a lot of times, we get old in our mind, because if we don't want to figure things out, we say, no, I just don't want to, I'm not ready to do that. It's figure it out. There's fun. Simple stuff, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
And that's what
And that's what we're doing.
That
The beauty
at
at technology
again
again is that we can connect, and we're doing that, and we're reminding each other about those values, and confirming to each other that yes, in fact, that it works for you, and that works for me, and works for others. So then other people can see more of us do that, and then get that feeling of accomplishment through wonder, and allowing themselves to learn and wonder, and
get things done
and
shit done.
shit done.
Well, I'll tell you a little story. This is very interesting. I was privileged to have dinner with the right-hand man of Rupert Murdoch. I don't know if you know Fox and Rupert Murdoch. And at that dinner was put together by the brother of the founder of Google. So Carl Page, who's Larry Page's brother, put it together for me. I know him. And we went to this Indian restaurant in Palo Alto. And we sat down at this dinner. Now imagine, here's a guy that bought so on one side I got the guy that bought the Wall Street Journal for $4 billion. On the other side, I got the guy who was one of the, put some original money in Google, right? So the brother of the founder. And I'm sitting there, and I couldn't believe it. I had my actor friend on the other side. And so we're having this conversation, and Andrew Straginsky is his name. I said to him, he said, I did a study of 3,000 entrepreneurs around the world. to find out what makes somebody successful. And it's just, I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. So I said, can you tell me one thing? What's the top thing? He said, amnesia. And I said, amnesia? He said, yeah. He said, they never ever dwell in the past.
Yeah, yeah.
None of them. They let it go. They don't let the past hold them back. He said, I found that, across the board. And specifically, we were talking about, some very well-known people that had been divorced, and we were talking about, just forgot it, just like, it's history, move on. And so that's part of life, right? You can't let the past hold you back, because the past is like anchors on a boat. And the thing is, you're not going to be able to sail your boat if you got the anchors in. You got to pull those anchors up and live your life in